So I read about your amazing store because it won America's coolest pet store or something. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is not cool. This is serious stuff. These people are like curating every single item on the shelf. Why is it called America's coolest store? I think the coolest store would be ones where they give away puppy ice cream or something.
Yeah.
And or I don't
Yeah.
know, freeze or face painting of your dog. But that's so the opposite of what the Pug and Hound Pet Apothecary is. So first of all, welcome to the show, Krista. It's
Thank
great
you.
to have
Thank you for
you here.
having me. I greatly appreciate it.
You and your husband have done something extraordinary, and somehow the pet industry, on the one hand, the ones who make really serious, dedicated products are like, yes, finally someone really appreciates us. On the other hand, the other part of the pet industry thinks, well, that's so cute.
Yeah.
It's what I love about you and what I want people to know about. You're in Geneva, Illinois, so that's not around the corner from many of us. But
Hmm.
I'm sure we can either order stuff from you or learn from you what you've put on your shelves. So tell the story of you and your husband, Jeff DeRay, and how you started this store in honor of your pug.
So my late pug, Bruce Wayne, he was a 14-year-old black pug. He was basically the reason for everything good in my life. Bruce, I got in my mid 20s just on a whim. Didn't really do a whole lot of research, unfortunately, back then. And turns out he was from a small time puppy mill, but I still wouldn't, I'd go back and do it all over again for what he taught me. But Bruce had a myriad of issues. Most notably, he had a spinal cord disease called pug myelopathy. And
Wow.
yeah, the spinal cord is integral to pretty much every function in the body. So things fell apart in various ways, and he had just about every issue in the book or was supposed to have some disease. So I'd have to do research into it and pretty quickly realized that I wanted to really know more. So at the time when Bruce first started having his back issues at his first spinal surgery in 2015, I was working for a naturally minded pet store, but I was just really interested in the veterinary side of things. I always wanted to be a vet. My family discouraged me from doing that.
Really? Well, can
Yeah,
I ask why? That's the opposite of most families. Oh, yes, a doctor in the family.
they looked at being a vet as like a farm job, and they were all entrepreneur. My dad was an entrepreneur and a businessman, and the rest of my family was all pretty business oriented. So they're like, "Don't be a vet. Yes, you're not going to be very successful doing that." So I was
Wow.
unfortunately discouraged, but the world provides. And
Yes.
so when Bruce had these issues, I was like, I really want to understand these medications, these illnesses. I went and worked for a conventional veterinary practice. I went to vet tech school at Purdue and started really learning a lot, and then became very passionate about supplements because there were just a lot of supplements out there that could either replace or be very complementary to the things that Bruce was dealing with or the medications that Bruce was on. That really got me passionate about supplementation, and there really was no store that had a ton of supplements. The store that I worked at probably had the most, and there really wasn't that much. There was maybe
Right.
30 different bottles of stuff. I left that job at the natural pet store and became a vet tech full time. And then at some point it was just like, okay, I can't stand this conventional mindset. Like it taught me a lot for sure, but I really loved the holistic, integrative veterinary world. And so I met my husband and we decided we were actually working at another natural pet food store because I was like, I want
Really?
to go back into this. I was going to buy a business that didn't work out. And then I met my husband while working at this store. And I was like, hey, I was going to start a business. It didn't work out. And we started collaborating. And we first actually were going to have a dog food truck. But then he was like, why don't we be like a
That's
GNC for
funny.
dogs? And I was
Oh,
like, that's it. Light
wow.
bulb went off. And
Yes.
that's how Pug and Hound was born. We decided to have a brick and mortar, and we started out at a very small space. We were there for 5 years,
Wow.
and year moved to a much larger space. But really, it was all because of Bruce. I met my husband because of Bruce. I became a vet tech because of Bruce. Everything I learned was because of Bruce. Even though he's not with me anymore, he still lives on. His legacy lives on. He still teaches me things to this day because I'm always learning new stuff and going, "Oh, I wish I had known that for." So pretty much any issue somebody comes to me with, I can help them with. And I do consultations worldwide. I've done consultations for people in Germany and all over the country. Yeah, I can definitely help pretty much anybody wherever they're at. And I do ship everything that's not frozen in our stores. I'd say arguably we do have the largest supplement selection probably in the nation, all in one place. And like you said, I curate everything. So I'm very picky about what I bring into the store, making sure that I know the owners of the company, how they manufacture, where they source, how they formulate, making sure that things are actually therapeutic dosages, because that's basically the big problem with the supplement industry at large, and that's human or animal, is people are putting the right keywords, but not enough of those ingredients. Glucosamine, chondroitin, but not at nearly the amount it needs to be therapeutic. So that is also a big part of what I do, is making sure that the supplements that I carry actually work and are actually safe and effective and potent.
Now, NASC, National Animal Supplement Council.
Yeah.
My understanding was, and you're a bold woman, you don't mind calling out whatever the truth is. My understanding was that anything that has the NASC seal is already tested. And if they say X amount of, let's say, glucosamine per tablespoon or scoop, that's exactly what's in there. And stuff isn't in there which shouldn't be in there. Is that seal still I say still because originally there were so few supplement companies and so few supplements. And now it's become trendy and hollow and empty, in my opinion. Companies that make dog coats now make
Yeah.
supplements, but they don't make supplements because they're obviously outsourcing it to somebody and calling it a pep your dog up supplement. So is that seal still the gold standard?
So the problem with NASC, so let me say the good things about NASC. Yes, they do vet companies, they do test that they have safe ingredients, but the problem with NASC for me is that they do not test for potency and they're
Ah,
not checking for those therapeutic dosages. Yes, they will check that the company indeed has X amount of glucosamine in the product, but they're not actually checking the company on whether that's a therapeutic dose, whether that's potent enough, whether it's really the pure ingredient. They're just checking, they're a safety organization. So I
okay.
think they have good intentions, but I think part of the problem is they are a pay to play organization. And that comes with some drawbacks, obviously. They're not vetting every company, they're only vetting the companies that pay them to do so. It's like back in the day, the good housekeeping seal of approval.
Yes.
That's what I equate NASC to. So I'm not trying to bash them because I do think they're going in the right direction in terms of there being some regulatory agency in the supplement world, but similar to AFCO, which is the feed control organization that governs, I say that loosely, governs pet food. There's a lot of holes in it that
Yes.
don't really assure that we're really still getting what we need and making sure these products are what they're supposed to be. So it's all we have, but it's not enough, in my opinion. I think, and I don't know that there ever will be an organization that exists to that extent because we have the FDA that's largely regulating in terms of labeling and stuff what supplements can or can't say. And they really don't allow a whole lot because the natural world gets crapped on. So anything that's safe and effective for a condition can't say that is for that condition. You cannot put conditions on the bottle, you can't put them in blogs anymore. So it makes it really difficult for these companies to get their amazing products out to the public and have the public understand what they're for without running into some type of regulatory agency one way or the other.
Interesting.
And
You say that really well. I've always thought it was main pharma, big pharma, the pharmaceutical companies in human health as well,
yeah,
that don't want an encroachment into their territory by, they could call them snake oil salesmen, or
yeah,
they could say, wow, that stuff has no downside, no side effects, and may actually cure an animal's or a human's condition, cure it, not just ameliorate it. So
yeah,
I spent, I guess, my formative years on some level in my 20s in California, where health food stores were the
yeah,
norm, and so was health food. Whereas on the East Coast or anywhere in the middle of the country, that was just all the fruits and nuts. People in California. But like with many things in California, it's a harbinger of what is to come, and it's an early indicator. And so now these ideas are more out there, but there's still a threat.
yeah,
And you're amazed, one is amazed, the multi-hundred-billion-dollar companies that make drugs, which
yeah,
as we know from TV and human drugs, the television commercial sometimes doesn't even say the name of it. They just say, if you have this really
yeah,
bad rosacea, and then the entire commercial is about the bad side effects. The
Yeah,
whole
and they
commercial. The
and
whole commercial.
yeah, and they use tricky wording too. Like I remind people Apoquil, which is an allergy medication that's very commonly used and comes with a host of side effects. And their commercial, they have this cute little talking pug and they talk about neoplasia. Most people have no idea what the word
Right.
neoplasia means, but
That's
if they
right.
knew what that meant, then they'd be freaked out. But they use bigger words to disguise these side effects so that you just,
Yes.
zone out while you're listening to it. I don't even know what that is, so my dog couldn't get that. Yeah, they sure could. Neoplasia is quite common. It's just it's amazing that these companies can get away with all of that. Meanwhile, there's these amazing holistic brands out there that I can't tell you. So many of them have just performed wonders in not only myself and my dogs, that I really have to watch how I talk about them or how they're worded on our website. And it's this whole thing where it's the system that we're in, unfortunately. And we just
Well,
have to
but
do the best we can to inform pet parents. And
money makes the world go round. And so I think it's important to make the analogy between human health and pet health because they're side by side. The companies
absolutely.
that make the big pharma, international pharma companies that make stuff for humans make it for dogs and cats and
Yep.
horses and cattle. So, of course, many of these things are life saving. No one's going to speak ill of antibiotics.
No, they're
There's
just
no holistic way to get rid of an infection, but you can certainly boost the immune system. Well,
oh, you'd be surprised. There's a lot of herbs out there that fight infection just as well as antibiotics. I work for a chiropractic neurologist. He's an amazing man. His name's Dr. Carl DeStefano, and he uses a practice called applied kinesiology, which to a lot of people is like totally woo-woo. And honestly, for the first probably 5 years I worked for him. I was like, I don't know how you do this with this muscle testing, but he
right.
uses various herbs to actually help animals and people deal with Lyme disease. And he
Oh,
actually figured out
interesting.
I had Lyme disease and treated me herbally, and I never went on antibiotics for my Lyme disease. So there definitely is stuff out there. Now, I'm not bashing antibiotics because they are life-saving,
Yeah.
but the problem with antibiotics in the veterinary industry is that in general, the veterinary industry is about 2 decades behind the human health industry in terms of just basic things, like the
Mhm.
fact that we don't use antibiotics anymore to treat a common cold. You'll see it in an ER.
Right.
We're not going to give you antibiotics for this.
Right.
They know that antibiotic usage creates resistance and it also really negatively alters the gut microbiome. Now, this information in the veterinary world is not as well known and not as practiced, I should say. I see antibiotics being given like candy. There's one that's used for diarrhea called metronidazole, and it really is meant to be used only for a certain type of parasite called Giardia, but vets are giving it out for diarrhea just left and right, and the harm that it causes is insane. If people really understood the neurological effects, the gut microbiome effects that this medication has, especially when it's used repeatedly, it's life altering in a really bad way. So when it comes to antibiotics, definitely they are a very life-saving tool along with steroids, but in the veterinary industry, they're used just way too much when there are way better, more suitable alternatives out there that are not woo. There's a
Yeah.
lot of alternatives out there now that are well recognized by conventional practices. It's just they're not well recognized enough across the world, across the nation, for all vets to realize that there are other tools there that are safe and effective.
So I call up Pug and Hound and I say, can I have an appointment with Krista? And you get on the phone with me. And I say, so my dog intermittently has bad diarrhea. And they say use the Purina product, Flora,
Yeah.
sprinkle on the food. It's a pre and probiotic, of which there are many others. I mean, that
Yeah.
one's been around 20, 30, 50 years. I'm sure somebody has come up with a newer mousetrap than that.
Yeah.
But the vets tell you that because it's convenient, it's in a little pouch. But I'm sure on your shelf you have all kinds of pre and probiotics
Oh
that
yeah.
would help with a dog that has a gut that goes a little wonky sometimes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have God, like 5 shelves worth of various different pre and
Wow.
probiotics. You name it. I pretty much, in my opinion, I think I have the best of the best out there.
That's the other thing is you're really picky. You're
I
like,
am.
I'm sorry, I can't take anything from this. I had suggested a couple of companies to you. You're like, really nice company, really like them, but there's this one ingredient, 14 down on the list.
Yeah.
I just don't like anything in my store with that ingredient. I'm like, wow, Krista, you're a tough, you're a tough nut. And yet your shelves are filled with products that do pass the Pug and Hound test for being just what it says and how it says. And that's amazing that you're
Yeah,
able
that's
to
the cool
find that
thing.
many. It is
It's
cool.
when we first started, I was like, God, I have a lot of rules. We're gonna have a small store and there's not gonna be a whole lot. But
Yeah.
as time has gone on, it's become a great honor now that we have some notoriety and people recognize what we're all about, that we have companies come to us. We just went to Super Zoo, a big pet expo, and we had a specific company actually reach out to us beforehand and go, I really want our product in just your store. You're not going to be, your competitors are not going to be able to get this product. We just want it in your store because we understand your standards. We know that you're going to actually understand our product, talk about our product, and they have good quality behind it. So it's at first it was very daunting. I felt like I was taking a huge risk as a
Mhm.
business, but I think in any small business sector at this point, pricing is not going to get you ahead. Just
That
having good pricing, Amazon, Walmart, you name it, the big box stores will always outprice you. So you have to offer something that is unique. And I think a lot of pet store owners lose sight of this because they want to have an item for every income bracket. And sometimes that's just not going to get you where you need to be. So we made very strict rules, but now people really have come to appreciate that and understand that they can come into our store and not have to worry about the products that they're looking at being of high quality, where they're from. We can answer all those questions right then and there. Yes, we know the owner. Yes, we know how this is formulated. Yes, we know where the ingredients come from. And that makes a huge difference, not only from obviously the quality of the product itself and it working, but the owner being confident in the product and not thinking that this is just snake oil. Because there are some things that I sell. There's a product that I'll be bringing in that does look like snake oil. In just 4 days, it's transformed my own life. I use the human version of this product.
are you allowed to say names or you
Yeah, it's called Tavati, and it is hibiscus bark oil, and you apply it topically, and it eradicates inflammation. I can't tell you how well I am feeling despite having plantar fasciitis, walking 13,000 steps a day at Super Zoo on concrete, and by day two, I had no pain. But if you look at this product, you'd be like, "What is this?" They just,
hickory bark oil? Come on. But
yeah.
there's probably some tribe of people.
Correct. It's from the Cook Islands in Australia. So it's a ancient remedy. They use it in the hospital in Cook Islands, but nobody else knows about it.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
that's where these things, you got to be able to talk about this because the
Yes.
product, they can't say these things online without getting in a lot of trouble. So it's up to small businesses like mine to be able to actually talk about these products and have a relationship with my customers. I'll spend an hour and a half talking to my customers. I don't care. I want to get to know them. I want to get to know what their pets are dealing with and really get to the root cause. Because that's the other issue is there's lots of things out there that are band-aids. They're just, like you said, just ameliorating the issue instead of actually fixing the issue. Whereas we are really about getting to the root cause.
Pretty dramatic. Now you also have a vet clinic?
Yeah. So
Wait,
we,
excuse me. That was like, wait, I'm reading about this store and it's really cool. And I'm going to call her and I'm going to pick her brain on all kinds of things. I mean, I have a dog with some shadow on her liver. Ooh, I want to make sure that Krista probably has a lot of experience with liver issues. They come up. And then I'm ready, but wait, there's a vet clinic in the store? You guys, your ambition, your vision apparently enlarged as you became successful. You thought, why not have a vet right here?
yeah, yeah. So that just came out completely organically. I'm a vet tech. Pretty much everybody on my staff is a vet tech. We have one woman that's more of like a toy and cutesy stuff. She came from a competitor of ours, but she's wonderful. But everybody else is a vet tech. They either are still practicing or worked with me in clinic. And so I was already known for that. And this vet just happened to walk in on a day date with her husband to our store. He was asking some questions. She didn't say she was a vet, and we were just talking about this, that, and the other. And finally, her husband goes, "She's a vet." And she nervously smiled, and I was like, "Oh, it's so wonderful to get to know you." And she became a customer. She was a little bit nervous about feeding fresh food. We got her dog on fresh food, really transformed her dog's life. And then just organically were like, hey, we have this new space. We'd love to have you on board. And actually she was like, I'd love to work with you. And I was like, this would be absolutely the icing on the cake. So now that we have the bigger space, we had an office area to turn into our little clinic area, and it's been absolutely wonderful. She's booked every time she's in the office, which at first was only once or twice a month. Now it's every single week. So she's doing wonderfully. She's very open-minded. continually educating herself. So we're so happy to have Dr. Nickel on board. Her bedside manner is impeccable. She is just incredible. She's fear-free certified, so we can handle even really nervous animals in the clinic. It's just been awesome.
Wow. It's really very exciting that
Yeah.
you have grown this way and it is organic. You've drawn the people to you, both colleagues that work with you and customers, and now a doctor,
Yeah.
because of what you represent. And I think that's what the real proof is in this pudding, is if you're as pure and true to your idea and your mission, and you believe in something that has validity, people will come. Build
I,
it and they will come. And
exactly right.
there you are, call it the middle of nowhere. It's not the main drag in Chicago or New
No.
York. Somebody has to go out of their way to get there or
Yeah.
out of their way to call you and stuff. I think it's totally extraordinary. Was she a holistic vet to begin with?
No, she actually still works at a conventional practice, but they refer their holistic stuff to her. So she still has like a an in-clinic job if we ever need someone, because we don't do surgeries or like
Right.
x-rays or anything like that. So she still has that job to be complimentary in case this was a serious issue that
Right.
needs more clinical intervention. And obviously, just like me, I still work in an integrative practice, meaning it's conventional and holistic. It's good to keep that experience because honestly, just the pharmaceutical world alone keeps on growing, new products keep coming out, so it is really important to still be working in a bigger clinic environment to get all of that experience and see what's going on.
So you still work in a vet clinic? No.
Yeah,
In addition to running this booming business?
I do. I actually have quite a few other jobs. My husband always makes fun of me because I'm like, I have 6 other jobs, but I do. So I work for Dr. Carl DeStefano. I run his practice for humans and animals. I also work for his wife, who's a veterinarian and a chiropractor for animals. I work at a larger clinic environment called Autumn Green Animal Hospital, and I write blogs for 2 other companies, and then I have the store. So I I have a lot of plates spinning, but like I said, it keeps me
Wow.
abreast to all that's going on, keeps me current, knowing what's happening in clinic, where things are trending.
Not walling yourself off in this precious little lane of
Yeah,
I'm just holistic all the way. I'm about supplementation, but only with the highest quality supplements. But to see that there's that to get to your lane, people you have to draw people and draw your information from
yeah,
the other lanes because it's part of the
absolutely.
real world. Well, I think it's really amazing.
Thank
With
you.
2 seconds left, what do you think of pheromones?
Pheromones are amazing. I think they're really underrated, honestly. I wish more
I'm
people
glad to hear
understand.
you say that. All
Yeah,
right, we're running out of time, but I'll get in touch with you separately. The man who invented pheromones, invented them in France, Patrick Pagier, was just on my show, and tons of people listened. He created Feel Away and Adaptil. He created them, and now he has a new company called Secure Dog, Secure Cat, and Secure Bunny, and it is a better
oh,
delivery system, but he's the inventor of them. So I'll put you guys in touch. It would be
yeah, I
great.
would love that. I love those products.
They're just coming into America. So that's
Great.
so cool. You're doing wonderful things. I'm very
Thank you.
happy to meet you and
Likewise.
really impressed. I was impressed on paper, but now in person, you're so non-judgy and non-critical, but very clear about where the truth is. And that's a very precious commodity in this day and age.
Thank you very much. I really
So
appreciate it.
it's great to meet you. I hope the store continues to thrive. Pug
Thank
and Pound Pet Apothecary, anybody, anywhere in the world listening to the show can reach out and learn something and get something really good for their pets. Thank you so
you.
much, Krista. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye bye.